Hi. People say that our one-on-one training sessions are very helpful, but not everyone has time for this. So I've recorded a typical training session. I'll fill in for the new user and ask the most popular questions. Even if you plan to get a training session, you should still watch this video. Get past the common questions now, so you'll get most out of your one-on-one time.
Alright, so we'll just start from this point on. Basically, say you pull up trade ideas for the first time, you may have a couple of default windows that pop up, like the high-low ticker or stocks hitting highs or lows. In this case, we have 0 windows pulled up. So all we're seeing right now is the console box. And, I'll explain, what this console box is. It's pretty simple. This is where you spawn all your windows. For example, if we'd like to spawn a new alert window, we can come to File, say New Alert Window, and then all of a sudden, we've got a window that pops up. Now, my default is going to look a little bit different than most people's. We give you the ability to set your default windows, so I simply have my default window set to this specific strategy here, so when I access a new window from this mechanism, this is what pops up. There is another way to spawn a new alert window other than going to File and New Alert Window. We can also simply right-click within the alert window to bring up this pop-up menu. And this is really where, you can't really navigate anywhere within TI other than this section until you right-click to access the pop-up menu. Once we do that, we've got several different options here to choose from. The easiest way to duplicate or to spawn another window is to right-click and just say Duplicate Window. And we can spawn another window using that method as well, in which case it just creates an exact clone of the window that you were in. All the settings will remain intact as well. So this is very handy for when you're trying to fine-tune stuff. You can simply duplicate it, make a few changes, and then compare the differences between the modified one and the original one. So I'm just going to close this window for now, and let's talk about the pop-up menu here. And once again, to get the pop-up menu to show itself, we just right-click in an existing alert window. And when I refer to alert window, I'm referring to this entire window here and all the settings that may be within that window. Alright, so as you can see from the pop-up menu, we've got several different options. Most of the time, a new user is going to be, I'd say probably 90% of the time, once someone becomes familiar with the software, they'll probably be selecting Configure 90%, 95% of the time once they access the pop-up menu. So what we're going to do first here is we're going to go into Configure. We can always circle back around to all of these other options that reside in the pop-up menu, but what typically happens is that as a user becomes more familiar with the software, all of these settings in the pop-up menu other than Configure, once they get these set up, they don't really go back and change them that much. Alright, so we're going to circle back around to these once we've covered Configure and make sure you don't have any questions about any of the other functionality in the pop-up menu. So having said that, I'm going to select Configure. And once we select Configure, we are now in the Configure Alerts area. And this area here is pretty much the heart of the system. It's where you're going to be doing all your configuring and researching and history and all that good stuff. Maybe not the history because it's in the pop-up menu. But what we'll do first here is you can see, once we're in the Configure Alerts area, we have 7 tabs to get to know within the Configure Alerts area. So what do all of these tabs do? How do you, the user, make use of these tabs? Alright, so what we're going to do is just step through each tab individually, and I'm going to explain the functionality. And if you have any questions while I'm speaking about this stuff, just please jump in and ask away. So just to reiterate here, when we right-click and go into Configure, by default, we're going to start off in the Strategies tab. Alright, so here we are in the Strategies tab, and we have 2 fields to cover. This area here, and the left side of the screen. We'll start with the left side of the screen first. And most users are going to see, in this area here, pre-configured strategies, recent settings, and current settings. Now, I use a developmental version, so we do customized work for different entities. And when we do that type of work for other groups, we allow them to insert their own personalized strategy folders in here. So the typical user is not going to see these two, and they will see pre-configured strategies, recent settings, and current settings. So I just opened the pre-configured strategies window, and this folder here contains all of the pre-configured strategies that a user has access to within Trade Ideas.
What do you mean by pre-configured strategies?
It's a good question. Okay, what I mean by pre-configured strategies is this. I'm going to come back to this window and right click and select configure one more time. And you can see in the field to the right here, you're going to see all of the blocks, filters, and alerts that I'm using to comprise this window here. So I personally went through and configured this to get the system to show me the stocks that I want to see. Alright, so what I mean by pre-configured strategies is that the user doesn't have to do any of this work. Alright, so let's go through the steps on how to access one of the pre-configured strategies. First off, I'd probably want to spawn a new alert window, which I can come up here and use the new alert window, or I can simply right click and duplicate this window. Then I'll right click and come back into configure and open up the pre-configured strategies list. So you can see the list is pretty lengthy. So what we'll do here is we'll just pick one of these strategies. Let's say this one appeals to us. Stocks under $20, moving up fast. When I click on each one of these strategies, in the field to the right, you'll get a brief description. And you will also be exposed to all of the alerts and or filters that are being used to comprise this strategy. So if this is the one I'd like to access, all I have to do as a user is make sure I'm on the right strategy and then click on Load Settings. Once I've done that, I simply click OK, and now you'll notice up at the top here, this window has been converted into the strategy that we pulled out of the pre-configured strategies list. Bullish stocks under 20 moving up fast. And now if we right click, come back into configure, you can now see these are all the blocks that are being used to comprise the strategy bullish stocks under 20 moving up fast.
Okay.
And you can see that this is a pretty active window. You can see the symbols streaming through in real time right now. And once a user has a window like this up, we don't limit the user to X amount of windows when they subscribe to Trade Ideas. So let's say this is fine, you like this one, but you want to open up some additional pre-configured strategies because they might produce good trades for you as well. So then the process is pretty simple. Just to duplicate a new window, right click, go into the pre-configured strategy list one more time. Let's say this one sounds good too. Good support on the price. So what I would do here, make sure I'm in the right window, go back into the pre-configured strategies, and where's that one? Good support price. I can click here and click here, or I can just simply give it a double click.
But it doesn't combine, does it combine both of those settings that we selected, or just that last one?
Right, I duplicated this window, and when I initiated the new strategy here, these settings are completely wiped out.
Okay.
And now we can see the settings that are being used for stocks at a good support price. So when you do duplicate or spawn a new window and activate one of the pre-configured strategies here, that window will only have the settings for each specific strategy. So there's no combining it. It starts it fresh, puts in the new settings, and you're good to go. And whether you want to open up 2 of these pre-configured strategies or whether you want to have 30 of them or all of them on your desktop, that's possible since we don't limit the user as to the number of windows that they can have open at any given time.
And you can save those?
Yep. Matter of fact, let's say every time I open Trade Ideas, I want these windows to come up just like they are with all the settings intact. All I would need to do to make sure that happens is come up here to File,